Hi, I'm Tom Field, Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. My topic today in this interview is visibility at a new depth. To talk about this with me, I want to introduce Mario Vuksan. He's the CEO and founder of ReversingLabs. Mario, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me today.
So when security leaders typically talk about visibility, which they talk about a lot these days, what
Correct.
do you think that they're overlooking?
Well, historically, people were talking about visibility in terms of really a network communication between different endpoints, where we were looking simply of evidence of communication from one point to another, and we've never really been looking at the payloads, so-called transactions, objects, or files that are being transmitted from one place to another, which usually carry a lot of context, a lot of interesting things. Now, as we are moving to the cloud, this is becoming a really, really important element, that cannot be overlooked. Everything in the cloud does look difficult to understand, given that everything is of the same color. Everything is AWS, everything is Azure. The issue with analyzing the payloads has always been really, really complicated. It took many cycles, very complex, and hence many organizations were not investing in the technology that consumers could actually look at. But as we're moving not only to the cloud, but seeing a lot of the new complex attacks, not only on the endpoint, but even in the areas like email, where MIME of anomalies, obfuscations, or base 64 attacks, not even talking about very rare attachment formats being utilized, have pushed people to really go deeper and analyze content. Now, this is really only beginning of relevance for visibility, because another level of information is hiding in consumer applications, transactions that are usually implemented by systems like SAP, Swift, which are always additional layers of risk that are always one step above our standard ways of detecting content.
Mario, you covered so much there in terms, I heard you talk about email, applications, the cloud, devices. It's a complex enterprise. Right. What level of visibility do security leaders really need today?
Unfortunately, they need increasingly larger degrees of visibility. It's not all anymore network, endpoint, email. Obviously, we talk a lot about mobile, but APIs and any cloud resources and applications have become really, really important. And even more so, many different homegrown native applications that organizations have written, because they rely on third-party apps, open source content that is not necessarily clean, or ready to be used internally. And so many organizations have unfortunately brought in unwanted passages internally, which compromised their customers, their internal resources. And if you're really talking about in the post NotPetya and CCleaner days, there are third-party access, has really become a critical element, that has been hurting customer trust into the very organizations that are serving them.
So, Mario, how do you gain this level of visibility that's necessary?
So, really, a phenomenal way of doing this would be through the advanced static analysis, and that's sort of one infrastructure that can handle any kind of binary or text object, whether it's a source code, whether it's Linux, Windows, Mac OS, or mobile file, or a document of different type on the other side. But then this infrastructure is also rather powerful in enabling organizations to analyze their commercial applications, from financial transactions applications like UnionPay, Swift, SAP, all the way to different healthcare applications. And the other really important thing is to be able to do it in a cost-effective manner. analyzing everything has always mean a lot of money to people. It's something that will take data centers and data centers. Here we are talking about a method of inspection where a single server should be able to go processing north of 4 million files per day, which is a massive difference to today's habit of attempting to detonate everything wherever possible, which for many solutions potentially yields no more than 10,000 analyzed files per day. So massive difference in capabilities, which then allows that this new level of visibility is brought forward.
So I've got a couple follow-up questions I want to ask, but first let's talk about ReversingLabs solution. What are you doing to help organizations to get that level of visibility they need, and in that detail?
So we are definitely providing the technology that can bring this tremendous amount of local threat intelligence forward through the use of our advanced static analysis technology, which really is fully scalable. It can be deployed locally as well as in the cloud, or it can be even utilized as a service, and it's a very cost-effective way to really understand what is moving in the environment, what are people emailing, what are people downloading, and it allows organizations this visibility, which is a starting point for advanced analysis, advanced hunting exercises, which we very much want to encourage organizations to follow, utilizing Yara rules, combining hits locally, or combining this massive threat reputation resource that we have in our cloud called Titanium Cloud, which now has at customer disposal over 16 billion files, fully analyzed with a lot of details, which can then be connected to whatever the content is being seen locally. Now, we definitely also try to make sure that organizations can integrate that to their SIEM, SOAR, and other network or endpoint infrastructure to really give them the maximum value of this technology.
So, quick follow-up questions. One, what success have you had across different sectors?
So the really interesting thing is that this technology is valuable for any organization that has something important, whether it's the IP, the data, or they just need to be uptime at any amount of time. So for us, financial services, retail, oil and gas, healthcare were sort of the important sectors that had a lot to hide. But really, any organization that is moving their response and their visibility to the next level is a great candidate for being able to leverage our technology.
And the other follow-up I have is, how can you help to reduce third-party risk, which each of those industries is facing?
So third-party risk is obviously, I think, a problem that we'll need to worry about severely, and it's going to be a major problem for the next 10 years, of this industry, and it's going to be a problem of, locking down our VMs, our containers, our, cloud usage, all our standard things we worry about, network, email, and endpoint. But more importantly, we will need to start, entering the applications, supply chain, software that we are using, things will be built internally or things that we use commercially, and then start analyzing what is that communication that's going between the application, because as applications are maturing, they are more and more capable of becoming a mini OSs in their own right, and a conduit for being able to ship unwanted and potentially dangerous, malicious content back and forth.
A lot to talk about here. Mario, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for coming into the studio today.
Thank you so much, and as well, for this time.
Visibility has been our topic. I've been speaking with Mario Vuksan with ReversingLabs. For Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you very much.